There are lots of different ways to think about political systems, but fundamentally there are just two economic systems. Socialism is government-determined allocation, i.e. central planning, and social or public or collective ownership of the means of production. Capitalism is market-determined allocation and private ownership of the means of production. It's a mistake to think that the ideal types of capitalism and socialism imply that a third or multiple other ways exist. There are only two types of economic system, and in practice, all countries will exhibit elements of each depending on the sector. We can imagine a continuum, and the EBRD have a measure of the extent to which a centrally planned economy or an industrialized market economy is in actual existence. Capitalism is a socio-economic system where the organization of the bulk of economic activity takes place through private enterprise operating in a free market. Capitalism is not pro-business, it's pro-market. Capitalism has been advocated from a virtue ethics perspective, from a rights-based perspective, and different sorts of utilitarianism. A common and popular way to organize society is a social democracy, which is a combination of a political system, a democracy, and an economic system, which is a mixed economy. But not all mixed economies are the same, and empirical evidence gives us some very clear answers. Countries that come close to the ideal type of capitalism tend to have peace and prosperity. In the Economic Freedom Index, Denmark, Australia, and USA are all in the top 10. By contrast, countries that come close to socialism have poverty and misery. The very bottom of the Economic Freedom Index contains Iran, Zimbabwe, and Venezuela. True socialism, and indeed true capitalism, have never been actually tried, but capitalism is itself intellectually coherent, whereas socialism is utopian. Moving towards capitalism tends to give better results than moving towards socialism. One thing to be careful of, though, is whether the perceived failures of capitalism prompts increased government intervention, which itself causes the perceived failures of the system. Outcomes such as crony capitalism or state capitalism demonstrate the dangers of state interference. Capitalism needs to be competitive and dynamic, not rent-extracting or rigged. Ultimately, the economic system is either planned centrally by the state or is decentralized through markets. And people on both sides of this debate will see it in slightly different ways. Capitalists would advocate a free society and contrast that with the slavery that exists under communist regimes. Socialists, by contrast, advocate solidarity and will contrast that with the anarchy of a market order. Whether you emphasize liberty and freedom or community and equality, these are important trade-offs to consider. Really, underpinning this are the political philosophies of collectivism versus individualism. While perhaps the most famous depiction of capitalism in Hollywood is Gordon Gekko's "Greed is Good" speech, this I do not think is the best approach to understand capitalism. Consider instead Kendall Roy. Yeah, the money, the lifeblood, the oxygen of this wonderful civilization that we have built from the mud. The money, the corpuscles of the life gushing around this nation, this world, filling men and women all around with desire, quickening the ambition to own and make and trade and profit and build and improve. Asking what type of market economy we want completely misses the point. The choice is between socialism or capitalism, and a market economy is superior. As Martin Wolf said, no other credible system for organization, production, and exchange in a complex modern economy now exists. The term socialism seems to be used today as an extreme form of progressivism, but there is a very big difference between wanting a capitalist system that has a large welfare state, i.e. a social democracy, versus a genuinely socialist system, which is state ownership of the means of production. Socialism failed in theory and practice. As Branko Milanovic has said, capitalism is alone.